In the 6th year of my nomadic campaign as the Visigoths, I realized that Total War Attila had turned me from a conqueror into a starved wolf in the wilderness. That sensation of desperate hunger for a land to call home is game-changing for the series, and makes this world feel like more than a glorified expansion pack. Attila is proudly its own game, and a great step up from Rome 2's initially unsatisfying jumble. Its biggest faults are largely missed opportunities rather than outright slayers of my ability to enjoy myself. The dynamic driving forces of the campaign are the strongest rallying point for this iteration of Total War. From the east comes the onslaught of the Huns. From the north come the increasingly harsh winters that will eventually make large portions of the map almost uninhabitable. My Visigoths, one of 10 playable factions, were flung into the resulting barbarian pinball machine, bombarding the weakened Roman Empire while battling other tribes for the vanishing fertile land. Having no home province changed the way I thought about waging war, and created dire situations to work my way out of. When a blizzard caught my nomadic band in the Alps and killed a third of my men, I knew I needed to find food and shelter now. It didn't matter how much blood I had to spill, nor whose blood it was. It's a fresh feeling in a genre that usually revolves around the question of who should I conquer next. The campaign interface is an across-the-board improvement. Instead of trying to cram things into the bottom bar, Creative Assembly has realized that it's okay to hide the map sometimes, giving us bigger info panels like the easy-to-understand family tree diagram. Internal politics and diplomacy are still pretty impenetrable, though. Control over your faction is a sliding scale from insignificant to absolute, with both extremes putting you at high risk for civil war. You can always see internal turmoil looming, but attempting to steer away from it is a huge chore. When my family grew too influential, it was easy enough to grant offices or important commands to members of other sub-factions. But when my badass warlord died, taking most of my political clout with him, I was left with very few tools to stabilize the situation. Bizarrely, actions like political assassination can only be carried out against members of your own family. So that jerk who wanted to overthrow my young, newly crowned High King was hard to get rid of, short of sending him off to charge headlong into an unwinnable battle. The real-time battlefield is still definitely Total War's main focus, and it's been improved in a lot of small ways for Attila. The pacing is much better thanks to units taking longer to route and often regrouping afterwards rather than fleeing the field. New Raider-type units are able to capture gates, towers, and control points faster. They also set fire to structures, which encourages defenders to waver from their lines and causes persistent damage on the campaign map. This adds an extra layer to the choice of army composition for the wandering hordes that Attila places in the spotlight. Outside that spotlight, there are some discouragingly rough edges. Most notably, the so far non-playable Celtic factions in Britain use Roman or Nordic units, disappointingly lacking their own roster or models. I'd bet my bottom denarius that this will be rectified with DLC, but one of the era's major culture groups should have been adequately represented up front. On the bright side, I encountered no game-stopping bugs or crashes. I still caught the AI doing nonsensical things like refusing to take cover from direct missile fire or scooting its ladders around my walls for 10 minutes looking for just the right spot. But especially in siege battles, they're generally far more competent than in past Total Wars. Weird decisions seemed like quirks of the AI and not outright broken code. Attila is an adept refinement of Rome 2. From the campaign map down to each individual skirmish on the ash-specked Earth, it's a cleaner, more well-thought-out experience. The political systems are still some of the least user-friendly in the grand strategy space, and there are some surprising oversights in how non-player factions are portrayed. But overall, its strengths put it among the best forays in the Total War series. For more on Total War, keep it on IGN.
Excellent!